Alright, let's talk about Hitler's hatred of the Jews. It's one of the most evil and destructive forces in human history, but we often treat it like some mystical, unknowable evil. It wasn't. It was a political tool built on foundation of lies, paranoia, and desperate need for a scapegoat. First, let's get one thing straight. Hitler didn't invent antisemitism. He just weaponized it on an industrial scale. Hatred of Jews was already a common, socially acceptable virus in Europe, especially in the Vienna where Hitler lived before World War I. He didn't just create the prejudice, he was just the most ruthless patient to ever get infected. The real turning point wasn't some childhood trauma, it was the Germany's defeat in World War I. For Hitler and many other Germans, the loss was a national humiliation that couldn't be explained by military failure, so they invented the stab in a bag myth. The idea that Germany's undefeated army was betrayed from within by internal enemies, primarily Jews and communists. It was a comforting lie. It wasn't our fault we lost, it was their fault. Hitler found his perfect scapegoat. He then took this old school religious hatred and gave it a modern pseudo-scientific makeover. In his twisted worldview laid out in Mein Kampf, Jews weren't just a religion, they were parasitic inferior race. He cast them as the ultimate global conspiracy, simultaneously responsible for both greedy international capitalism and godless Bolshevism. It was a catch-all conspiracy theory that could blame one group for everything he hated. This is where it goes from personal prejudice to political strategy. In the chaos of post-World War I Germany, a country drowning in hyperinflation and humiliation, Hitler offered a simple, powerful message. Our problems are not complex, they have a single cause, the Jews, and if we eliminate the cause, we can restore Germany's greatness. It was the ultimate political snake oil. He sold a nation on the idea that their suffering had a simple, identifiable enemy, and once he got the power, the propaganda machine went into overdrive. Goebbels' Ministry of Propaganda relentlessly dehumanized Jews in films, newspapers, and posters, portraying them as a vermin and disease. He wasn't just trying to pass laws, he was trying to condition an entire population to see their fellow citizens as a subhuman threats. Ultimately, Hitler's antisemitism was the engine of his entire ideology. It was a justification for the Nuremberg laws, which stripped Jews of their rights. It was a justification for the boycotts and the pogroms. It was a justification for World War II itself, which he framed as a defensive struggle for Germany's survival against the global Jewish conspiracy. This belief culminated in a final solution, the Holocaust. He didn't just hate the Jews, he saw their extermination as a necessary act of racial hygiene and self-preservation. His hatred wasn't just a feeling, it became a state policy of genocide. It was the most horrific example in history of how a political lie, repeated often enough and amplified by enough propaganda, could lead to unimaginable evil. Sounds familiar?